Greetings, friends! Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we look at movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined again on our never-ending descent into the nightmare realms this October in the A Nightmare on Elm Street series by my friend and returning co-host,
Mike Cloud.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you guys again for staying with us on this long journey. We're excited about it. Again, Cloud did Dream Warriors and Dream Master with me. Those are audio only, but definitely worth checking out on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find the show.
6 as well.
6 as well, but that should be here on YouTube for the good people. Don't interrupt my pro intros. All right, so we're back. This is the end of A Nightmare on Elm Street series, essentially. We still have a remake, and we still have a Battle Royale.
This is probably the last canon. Like, loosely canon.
I think they all count except for the remake, but this was the return of almost everyone from the original that mattered.
Yep.
And the return of Wes Craven, right? The creator, the godfather of this whole thing. I actually, on a rewatch, I gotta say, I was a little disappointed in Wes.
I disagree.
No, not this. I liked the movie. This is a little bit masturbatory for me. The Wes being this, there's a scene specifically where Wes Craven is talking about what Freddy is in this. This is a very meta.
Yeah, very meta. But
film coming to life kind of thing, right? But it reminded me of that scene in Human Centipede 2 where they're like, my movie was such a wild, amazing cult classic that now this creep is killing people based. I'm like, was it?
I kind of went back and forth. I was like, whether this is like self-grandizing or more like, you know, almost Vonnegut-esque meta. Like, and
let me tell you
I would go
what
more
it was.
Vonnegut.
That's not true to me, because there's a scene when Wes is like, there's this thing, and occasionally a storyteller of such great powers and magnitude can wrangle him into a form. And not only that, but the form I created is so glorious that the demon now just wants to keep the Freddy form instead of being this shapeless, ageless demon.
I took it more as like he stumbled on it and just really liked it. I didn't see him like saying, I'm a great storyteller, just that
he was so good that he wrangled this
I'm
demon.
just this good. He said, we just told a great story.
He told the story, right?
Yeah, he wrote it.
So it's
not quite like Lady in the Water, I think, like self-grandizing, where M. Night Shyamalan says, like, I'm going to save the world with this movie. But it was a little, for a guy who was pretty low key. Right.
I was like, man, we're really like, and also he has to stop and take shots constantly at the other movies, because in that same scene about my brilliant storytelling, I was able to wrangle this demon and catch him into the Freddy skin, the Freddy cage, right?
Right.
But he's also like, you know, sometimes people, they lose sight of Freddy, or they cheapen him for a cash grab.
Right? No, I thought that was actually a good line, because like that kind of like addresses like 4 and on, like.
But he's taking shots again.
He's taking a shot of
at the other series, because
Wes
Craven pretty famously hated every nightmare that wasn't him. He's like, they're not.
It's not
scary enough. Freddy's not like an actual scary guy.
But that wasn't his vision in those.
And what I would say is
he's going to take shots at that.
A lot of those movies are better than even New Nightmare, Wes. I hate to break it to you.
I disagree.
I like New Nightmare, but this is like a middle of the pack Freddy movie.
1, 3, and New Nightmare are the top 3. Nope.
Cloud. 4 is better than New Nightmare.
No, it is not.
I'll give you the definitive ranking when we're done. We got to finish.
All right, fine.
I'll give you my definitive rankings. You know, because your opinions don't matter. Mine are facts. Yours are opinions. But no, I did. I was a little bit like the one scene I liked of Wes was when he let Bob Shea have a who knows, we got to wait and see till he finishes the script. He's a total asshole talking about Wes Craven. Yeah. So I was like, at least he's in on like the, you know, everyone thinks everyone else is an asshole. But I was like, this is really a fluff piece for Wes, which is kind of a power move. But also, I was like, I never realized it until this viewing. I was like, weird.
I mean, so if it wasn't for that one thing where he's like, I created a great story that this demon liked and locked himself in, and then inherently trapped him. If it wasn't for that, you would not say that.
Because
that one scene
the story that's happening in this movie and the screenplay is not being written by Wes.
But it is.
It's not.
But it is like it's like she pulls.
But it's actually
she pulls
not.
out the screenplay that he wrote. 'Cause it's like it's this.
It's the Bible argument,
multiple,
right?
Like level of
no. What it is when they say, well, the Bible was written by dudes like 400 plus years after Jesus died, how can you trust it? God wrote it through their hands. That's what's happening in this movie.
So you're saying that the demon is writing the story
Yes.
through Wes Craven's hands. I saw it more of this.
The captured creature has now found a way to remanifest and is putting them all in this waking nightmare.
I just saw it more as the demon that was going to break out if Wes did not write this. And Wes is writing this, like,
he says,
pseudo-factual story of these characters, but it's really still a story where Wes, as the author, is addressing these fictional versions of real people, just like in the Vonnegut books,
but
where he will put himself
he wakes
in his books.
up, and then he just writes whatever was in the dream.
But that's just
also,
the
Wes has no real-world affecting abilities. The demon in this movie constantly is affecting the physical reality that we see.
I just saw this.
The weirdest thing about this,
there's like two Wes's. There's the Wes who's actually writing it, and then there's the Wes in the story.
There's the Wes in our world that wrote it and was like, God, I was so good, and I'm still that good. I did it with Scream, and I'll do it again, right? Just like,
and so like all these characters,
slamming his little ghost face.
Like these are like characters in a story who are gradually becoming aware that they're in a story, and then the real Wes acknowledges it at the very end where he gives the script.
Right, because she frees him from the demon.
I guess we'll just...
Here's the question. This gets me to my next thing. Freddy, or the demon, is the one writing this script, right?
I saw it as Wes writing the script to capture the demon. I didn't see the demon as having any power.
The demon's already here. The demon is already manifesting in our reality.
Right. He's like trying to
But again, Wes has no ability to bring him forth like that. The theory is that
he has the ability to trap him, but not to summon him.
Wes, through his amazing genius, has already captured him.
Right, but now
this
he's not
thing
writing anything.
is writing its own Freddy, right? That's why Freddy looks so different in this one. This is the dream entity writing his version, right? The Jeepers Creepers version of Freddy.
Yeah. Which I love. I love the imagery of this Freddy.
The fun part of this, though, that I like is when you realize that Freddy is the one writing the screenplay, right? Because this is how you know Wes didn't write it, to me. At the end, the script is there when they roll out of the bed with the note already on it from Wes. Right.
Why would the demon write his own self-destruction, though?
Exactly. Because that's part of the game. It's intrinsic to being Freddy.
You have to
that
die.
Eventually you get stopped and have to find a way back to come again.
But why would you make something that is inherently...
Well, here's the question. Why would Wes write, your kid's going to get dangled in traffic? Why would Wes do that?
Because he had to create a story that was appealing to this demon. You can't just like have a happy-go-lucky demon out there like that's not hurting anybody.
Wes could have just on Act 1 like, Freddy demon dissipates. Jason Voorhees is here.
But then it wouldn't have appealed to him at all. Like it has to appeal to the demon.
So what you're,
way
but that's my argument.
Up until the end.
That's my argument exactly. You just proved my point. If Wes is only writing it to appease him based on nightmares that he's given and are being manipulated by this thing, Wes is just the conduit. He's not the writer. He's not the source of the material.
So you could say he's being indirectly manipulated in the fact that he has to write it.
He's being directly manipulated, right? In his dreams.
Why would it write something where he has such a final death in the series? Like every other nightmare movie, like at the very end, there is other than Freddy's dead, there is a Freddy comeback moment at the very, very end, and not in this movie.
You think not?
But
we never know. This is the brilliant thing, though. Is it's just ending the movie. This thing still exists. It's an eternal demon that has been around forever. Do you actually think that?
I mean, that's
you
one,
think
one
the
of the
dream world actually exploded?
No, that's
Here's
one of the problems I have
right?
with this movie is that the end is a little.
Well, why do they even have the oven room?
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Like the whole killing Freddy in an oven. I mean, kind of makes sense in the fact of his origin.
Right. But if you were killed by that, why would you be like, you know what, I want to decorate ovens?
Right.
Like,
yeah. I want a whole shelter of ovens and broilers.
And I want an oven that can be locked from the outside with me in it. Right. Why would you ever go near that oven?
Yeah. Like, why is he getting in there in the first place?
But that's what I think. That's kind of the fun part, right? Is it's this wildly meta.
Yeah.
We created something that became a wild cultural phenomenon. It's gotten out of our control, which is real because Wes felt that way.
Yeah.
This character became something completely bigger and different than he had ever imagined.
Yep.
I think Wes did one really brilliant thing in this movie, which is he made himself again. He's not the all-powerful writer. And that even Wes, coming back into Nightmare, is beholden to Freddy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the brilliant thing is Freddy is the author of this movie. Now, why did Freddy write it this exact way? And that's the question is maybe because is this movie fun for this Freddy demon if it's not a real Freddy movie? Like if he just kills Heather,
right, and
it's over. Like why mess with her kid? Why do this? Like why not just kill her? She's the one he has to get through.
But that goes against like the whole like the whole character of Freddy is he doesn't just kill, like he totally toys with his victims.
But this isn't Dream Child where he's trying to use the kid to get back in the real world. Right. Freddy has entered our world in this kind of spiritual form. We see him constantly manipulating the real world when people are awake.
Right.
And then they even do the earthquake.
Right,
the earthquakes
are
trying
Freddy. Him break out into the real world.
This is him bending the walls between the realities, right? So I think it's fun to think of Freddy, and without the final girl and the defeat at the end, it's not a Freddy movie. This is an entity cosplaying Freddy Krueger, trying it on, and is like, well, the story's not as fun if it doesn't end in this way.
Just to appeal to a story arc that is traditional to what he liked, you feel like he made it so he has to die.
It's the weird thing is this demon is almost us, the audience, right? Where he has watched Freddy and said, this is my favorite form. It does kind of make sense that he would just keep that Freddy formula alive, knowing that he will just come back.
Okay.
Right? We might not see the last 10 seconds of the mom getting dragged through the window, but I think it's ludicrous to imagine that Freddy Krueger leaves this world. He's still a character and, merchandise and a brand that exists so wildly in this world. The power is still there.
But this movie actually moved away to not make him a merchandisable character. Like with what they did with him,
this movie is not
marketable.
But the scene in the movie that I think kind of gives you the Freddy's eternal is when she's at the talk show and Robert Englund busts out, and there's that scene. And again, I love the scene at the talk show because Heather's having this, oh fuck, like this is scary, like this is weird.
The fact that
this
so many
is
people lash on
a pedophile child murderer, and him just to the crowd, like you love me. And they fucking do, and they're dressed like him, and
wearing masks,
they want to be him, and that's
I know they want to be. Well, okay, they're dressed up. Like
no. They want to play as the character because Freddy is the fun child molester, child killer, right? And it's one of those things to me that's always been weird. I mentioned you can go to Target and find plush toys with a smiling Freddy for a little kid.
Yeah, I remember they used to be like a little child molester
things. Yeah, and it's.
Weird. That is a really it was a really weird cultural phenomenon. You won't see that ever again.
And that's what
I don't know if we'll ever see like a mass acceptance where parents are like, yeah, my kid can watch that and have those toys. Like nowadays,
I don't think it's the pair. Like you almost see it with Pennywise now has made like this big comeback. He's merchandise everywhere at Target.
But nowadays, like when I was a kid, and my dad took me into Nightmare on Elm Street, part like 4 through 6. There were other children in there, and we were just sitting back watching entertained. You do that now, like you take a kid into it, everybody will stare at you like you're a bad parent.
There was a kid in my theater for it.
Oh yeah, and it won. Yes,
and I do actually.
I thought they were a bad parent.
There's a lot of other evidence. The fact that they brought their own monster energies, they were talking the whole time, a lot of texting. I was like, not great. Yeah, not great choices. Maybe you guys just have like other issues.
That and Deadpool. I saw someone bringing like a 4-year-old to Deadpool. Like, you guys are bad parents.
But this is your argument. Is Freddy not just kind of a Deadpoolish character at times?
Right. Yeah, he is. Especially like in Freddy's Dead. Like, and that appealed to me. But I liked him as like kind of almost like a Deadpool like character. But again, that's a cultural phenomenon I don't think we'll ever see again.
Here's the weird part to wrap up my argument about Freddy as the author. Maybe the author's actual favorite form is Heather. Or is Nancy, sorry, not Heather Langenkamp. Is Nancy.
Either way, but
this is what I mean, right? Maybe he's just wanting to play a game with her. And so he takes this avatar on as a way to play with his favorite girl. Because when they cut to the TV scenes, right, the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, on the TV that's not plugged in, what are they always showing? They're always showing scenes of Nancy.
Yeah.
Always. We're not seeing the Freddy like, we're not seeing Johnny Depp. We're always seeing Nancy. This thing is obsessed with her.
I think that might be like more of a statement about Wes Craven, because it seems like he probably loves Nancy. Even when you think about it, like The only other time he was involved in the Nightmare series, Nancy comes back. The
Wes
next time he comes
Wes
in,
is the conduit who has to create the opportunity for New Line to drag her back. But again, what we learn is they don't need the production of this movie, right? This story is happening to all of them without their control.
Right.
This movie's in pre-production. They're designing a claw.
Right. They're in a script.
But that's what I mean.
They're in a story, which is why I think I say like this
they're in a nightmare. That's
the
being
overall
written by
god
Freddy.
of this is Wes, who's also writing himself into this story, and
I'm telling you, you're not giving Wes credit. What Wes did is he made himself beholden to his own creation, right? This is Frankenstein. This is, look at what I've created, and fuck, is it out of control?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. But then also,
and
like,
I think
would
it's
say,
clever,
like,
right? Because again, he so overwrote the fact of I am the genius that trapped the demon.
Okay, fine, I'll give you that as a little.
I think that is specifically made to be so braggadocious because we learn later that he is nothing to this thing.
Right. So
he's another conduit.
If the demon's though writing this, then why would he say that?
Why wouldn't he?
Why would the demon allow like
this
Wes
is the fucked up thing,
unless
right?
like the demon's like
they
worshiping
walk
Wes
into that room right at the end of her conversation with Wes. That's already written in the script.
Right.
This is the demon writing his own dialogue for these people who he only sees as characters in these nightmare series.
But we see no evidence of that.
Yes, we do.
But I mean,
whole movie's evidence of that. What are you talking about?
I think there's more evidence that it's Wes writing the story and giving the characters brief peeks into his guidance and his story to them.
Because if it was Wes writing the story, you wouldn't have the child.
Why not?
Why would Wes care about the child? He needs Nancy and he needs the demon.
Right. But the demon inherently has,
and he has all of his behind-the-scene workers. He's like, I'll kill some FX guys and art department guys.
Right. It is odd, like how it kind of goes into attacking mostly adults. Like he never actually kills the kid. Like he doesn't kill any children. He kills only exclusively adults in this movie, which is an interesting.
The babysitter's like a teen,
kind of.
Yeah,
I don't even know. She might even be like her 20s. Like,
she did kind of say mid-20s.
She's a Hollywood nanny, so she's probably an adult.
No, I'm telling you though. The child is why you know it's the demon, because that's how he needs to get close to Nancy.
But going back, though, where I think it might be even Wes, though, is watching this movie, which would be probably Heather Langenkamp at her best acting chops, is terrible. Like, Heather Langenkamp's a horrible actress, in my opinion. There's no reason that Wes would keep putting Heather Langenkamp in the movies unless he really likes Heather Langenkamp.
No, because the demon likes the original form of Freddy and the person who defeated him.
But no, I'm going back to like
the demon is stuck.
No, 3. Like, they're like, it was kind of a cool storytelling thing, but like
it was a perfect storytelling.
Wes seems to be very fixated on the Nancy character or Heather Langenkamp. So that's where I would say, like, he's the overall author of this.
No, but I'm saying the fact that Wes is not writing what's on that TV, right? The demon is choosing what's on that TV.
Or it could be, it could totally just be Wes out of his typewriter, and what we are seeing is how he, in his mind, what is manifesting on those pages. And then he is occasionally giving them insight into his
because
thoughts.
then at any moment, the fact that you said he can't write something the demon doesn't like or it doesn't work, that totally invalidates the Wes argument. The demon wouldn't
write something that the demon doesn't like.
Exactly. I'm telling you, the things that you think are weird, the demon's favorite form is not Freddy, it's Nancy. He's writing a love letter to Nancy and playing a game with her.
Oh yeah, I would totally agree that the author is writing a love letter to Nancy.
Why is one of his first victims he's got to handle her husband? Right?
Again, I think Wes is
if Wes was writing this,
just like James Cameron
if Wes was writing this and he liked Heather Langenkamp, who you said is not a good actress, I don't agree. Right?
When she's like on the phone, when she's like, "You son of a bitch," and like hangs it down, like that was horrible. It was very soap opera.
It's an actor choice, goddammit. What I'm telling you though is, for Wes to continue to say, "I really like this person, and I really like Robert." And I really like these FX guys I work with. Yeah. And I really like John Saxton or whatever, you know. For him to be like, yeah, but I'll kill some of them to get to her. And fucking torture her child and this and that. Because I know the demon wants it. The demon is the one. Otherwise, Wes would be writing his own script of, the demon fucking is defeated by mind kung fu. And the demon's like, not today.
No, he hates mind kung fu.
If Wes was writing this, it would be Wes versus the demon one-on-one. The demon wants to get to his favorite character, which is Nancy, which he's constantly watching on the screen through the eyes of this boy because he is infatuated with Nancy. He takes away her lover, Now she is his.
I would 100% agree that the author is infatuated with Nancy and wants to take every attachment
the author
she has.
is the demon.
And I'd say it's Wes, just like James Cameron is obsessed with Sarah Connor.
That's a whole different kind of creepy.
Right.
Right? When James Cameron's like, wait, you're not Sarah Connor. We're getting a divorce. That's sad.
Right.
My contention is, I think all the evidence points to this demon loving Nancy and wants to be with her. And he has this weird perverse, through Freddy, he can take up all of her headspace.
All right, well,
right?
I think we could argue this back and forth.
I think I won.
Audience,
I want to know
what you
who
think.
wrote, because this is the thing.
Listen, what do we do? Like,
demon
it's like a
writes
thumbs up.
his own childish demise based on her child's favorite story, right? I think this guy haunts her for a long time. So you know what else we never wrap up? Someone's still fucking calling her and harassing
I thought that
her.
was just like the Freddy demon, like his
How does
initial
Freddy
like
have a phone?
entryway. He's a demon. He can.
But when we when we see Freddy use a phone later, how does he do it? Classic tongue.
Right,
Freddy's
so
not
it's
just
kind of a
making
tieback
a
to the
phone
original
call.
movie.
Right. Freddy's not just making phone calls like, "Oh, what's up? It's Freddy."
Right.
He's like, every time
Well,
Freddy
it's kind of
uses
this,
a phone, something comes out of the phone.
Well, it's kind of this like gradual aggression as the movie goes on, and he gains more power. And so, like, yeah, initially all you can do is call on the phone.
That's
but
the thing.
then, like,
Freddy
as it goes
doesn't
on,
need to contact her through the phone because he has dreams.
Well, I don't know. He might not.
I
Have
think
enough
there's
power
a
to do
real
that
world stalker.
You think there's actually a real world stalker in all this?
Yeah.
I don't know. But what else? What was the?
And I think that's evidence of the demon.
Well, I guess any stalker could have done all the pages and like
Easily.
sent it to her. But
all you got to do is smear poop on a page.
But then her son Dylan, through Freddy, knows how to organize those letters to the message of what they're supposed to say. So I think that clearly says that those are coming from Freddy.
You think Freddy couldn't figure out a basic word puzzle, an anagram?
I don't think he would even have thought to even look for those if he was not sending them.
Why not?
Well, how does he know that those are coming in? He's touching the kid. He's not in Nancy's mind.
How do you know? He is in her mind.
Eventually he does. Yeah.
He is in her
as time
dreams.
goes on. He starts off in Dylan's,
and we see them
eventually goes into
we see them in the drawer. You think that she hasn't figured that out already? You think she doesn't know what those say until the kid lays them out?
No, I don't think. I think she's just thrown it
That's
from the movie.
in
It
her
just seems like she's like
fucking
keeps throwing them in a drawer, and she wouldn't know what it says until the very end.
You think that this woman, who's so fucking terrified by a creep harassing her like this, is never like, they're not all the same letter. I wonder what the fuck that is.
I would
pull
her
that out.
They don't
have to show.
Why she holds on to him, I have no idea.
That is a bit. That could be evidence, though. You know, if someday you eventually like catch this motherfucker and want to make a case, that could be evidence. No, I agree. I was a little bit like, really, in your fine china cabinet, you're keeping your fucking poop letters. But no, okay. So one of the things about this movie that I thought was fascinating is how much Freddy openly shows in the real world.
Yeah.
And this, again, argues to why this is Freddy's story for Nancy, because he fucking bails her out in the hospital.
How?
When Freddy fucking murders the babysitter, right?
It's not just a murder.
When they open the door and see the babysitter levitating, all of a sudden they're like, maybe we shouldn't tranquilize the mom. Like, she might be innocent.
Well, she just runs away.
No, wait. This turns on a dime, right?
Don't they say,
we'll
like,
talk
code,
about the hospital.
They like put on like a code to catch her.
No. That's after. Because this is after the babysitter's murdered. You hear the nurse like, what the fuck? And the worst nursing staff ever, by the way. The
worst hospital, the worst doctor, the worst nursing staff. Everything about the medical system in Wes Craven's vision is terrible.
We'll break it down.
I think he
bit by
legitimately
bit,
hates doctors. I bet he's got like crystals all over the place. Like, he legitimately like undermines medicine. And,
he's an herb healer.
He makes hospitals and like healthcare the most terrifying thing in everything he does.
They're pretty fucking terrifying.
They can be. I agree, but
you're a doctor,
so
you're jaded. But hear me out on this point. What he does when he floats that girl, right? She goes from about to be fucking tranquilized and lose her child to the system to, oh my God, she's not crazy. We have a lawsuit on our hands.
Yeah.
The doctor's eyes just go, The doctor's like, I knew it. Freddy Krueger's caused another real life medical anomaly.
I think it's just more like
she literally diagnosed the kid.
Like a rational mind would not be able to like say how the hell that happened.
They let her fucking go because they're like, holy fuck, lawsuit.
No, they yell a code when she runs.
That's before. That's when she goes in to find her kid. They say the code, and then when she leaves the room, they drag her into like the fucking hostage room. But they literally are like, oh, fuck. And this is... She diagnoses the kid with Nightmare on Elm Street. That's what she diagnoses him as.
No, she diagnoses him with schizophrenia because she blames
because
her mom
of Nightmare on
Elm
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
Which is totally messed up. Her mom is just like, has anything traumatic happened? She's like, his dad just died. But are you letting him watch your movies?
Yeah, right. Fuck the dad. I'm really worried about what his Netflix looks like. Yeah, no. But, I mean, she is the worst doctor because, again, she does that classic, like,
yeah,
like I knew it. He watched horror movies.
Yeah, he's like, no, your dead dad has nothing to do with any of this.
But they have that, right? They have the terrible nurses who
the nurses who sneak up, like they
run
no
the
consent,
play.
Get no consent from the mom to inject a sedative
I wanted to ask
into the
you
kid.
this, but I was like, even if they think she's borderline, that's still highly illegal.
That is very illegal.
You can't hold her as a hostage in a room and then go drug her child.
We can't like be like, hey mom, step out here in the hallway for a minute. And then send in two nurses and one to like put on like a song and dance while the other one like
your kid fell down on this needle full
we stabbed with a narcotic.
Yeah. Well, I knew the hospital was bad because they already started
this is why we have an opioid epidemic.
That's right. But you know why? Because they're like, this kid might have schizophrenia. His dad just died. Sleeping pill.
Right.
I'm like, the kid's like 4.
Right.
You're giving him heavy sleeping drugs.
Right.
Like, kids still need naps at that age.
There is no appropriate Xanax dose for a 4-year-old. Like, you can't do that. That kid's dead.
Yeah. No, that feels terrible.
Yeah.
No, like, I still have to read the little syringe of, like, Tylenol to give my kids. So this could be bad.
You need like special tiny syringes, right? For ibuprofen.
But do you notice the nurses run a beautiful 2-man play?
Yeah,
it's like, oh, look at me over here doing the needle.
Right.
Go for it. And I'm like, this is not the first child they've illegally
exactly.
drugged.
They've done this before.
This is a very savvy staff on a child endangerment. And then they just take her in and just start berating her. To be fair, though, what I like about this part, Nancy does seem like a fucking unstable crazy person.
She doesn't seem abusive though. She doesn't seem like she's a danger to the kid. She just
I disagree
she seems
though.
Distraught.
She's not going to physically like beat his ass or whatever. But her behavior in scaring him and stay awake with me, this and that is endangering a child.
I mean, it's bad guidance.
And then her having a fucking complete mental breakdown
it's good
around a
in
kid
this
is
case,
not good.
But like to an outside person,
right. But this is what I mean. I love
guidance.
Freddy movies that give you that real world like, is this all fucked up? Like, are these bad people?
Yes,
like,
those are all terrible people done terribly. Like, you can't just be like, hey, I think you're a bad mom. Come in here. I'm going to have the police grab you, drag you into another room, and we're sending your kid to foster care.
But what I'm saying is, I know the doctor ends up being really bad. And even if she was right, she still definitely has some ethical violations.
Right. She
what I'm
definitely
saying
has,
is, though,
like, the feared God complex. Like,
the movie has the cover of... She might actually be insane. She might actually be having a breakdown herself.
You could legitimately say, that she's she's distraught. Possibly having a bit of a psychotic episode. Not really, though. Like, that's not what a psychotic episode looks like.
She goes to see her husband's corpse and is way more interested in the claw scratches than just like, there's my husband's dead body.
She sees, like, briefly, she sees it at the top. So she's like, okay, there's something else there that I need. He was in a car accident. That's true.
But this is what I mean. Her initial thought isn't like, oh, my husband. She's like, let me see that claw. Right? Like, she's already building in this escapist narrative from her grief.
But she had a dream.
That's a classic mental breakdown sign.
But no, she had.
And she's like, in my dreams, a demon that from a movie I was in the 80s is coming to get us. Like, that's what I love, is that she is plausibly insane.
Yeah.
What did you make of the earthquakes?
I thought it was a cool little tool that the movie used for like, it's like something where everyone else would be like, oh, it's California, we have earthquakes, this is something that's normal. It's not like here in Indiana we start having like 5 earthquakes. We're like, what is going on? Like, you can like, we legitimately think a demon is trying to break into the world.
Well, in Indiana, we think demons are around a lot more than other states already. But no, this is like a good question for this though. I think again it kind of weaponizes her sanity against her. Because what it does is it puts Nancy in a place where she's already creating events as a response to the trauma of real earthquakes, right? Which we see evidence around all the time. They have great B-rolls of, earthquake damage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The fact that every time, because she does this a couple times, she'll be like, the earthquake that just happened. There was no fucking earthquake. That adds to, another traumatic event has sent her down this rabbit hole of rewriting her past to cover for bad behavior, right? Like slashing herself and whatever she may be doing to the fucking kid.
But yeah, the kid never has any signs of bodily harm on him. He has no bruises
But that's what I mean. Like, a lot of that can be inner damage. She could be poisoning this kid for all you don't fucking know these things. Like,
the doctors would know if that kid had been
not that
poisoned.
bitch ass doctor.
Yeah,
she was just like, "What have you been watching? What have you been watching?"
I don't know what tests they're running on this kid. Like, they're like, he's got to go down for more tests. I'm like, what are you guys?
They were
doing?
literally just pulling up IMDb pages. Have you seen this melted face man? You have. They had like a lineup of like Leatherface, Pinhead, Freddy. Like, point to the one you've seen.
Now they had to go down to the library back in the day. There's no IMDb.
There was no cell phones,
but
they did it on actual X-ray paper too. So
yeah, right.
plug it into the
they just put it up on the wall, like on the.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing that gets me about like almost, and not just this movie, like anything Hollywood medicine that I always think is funny is you stay in the hospital until all the answers. Like, like now, like, you go to your doctor and like, okay, we'll run some tests, we'll call you. Right. And every movie and every TV show is like, you have a sore arm. You're going to stay in the hospital for 3 days until we get this thing figured out. Like this kid, like that would happen. Like he would gone on for like a 45-minute consultation with a psychiatrist. Yeah. They would have written up a report and like developed a treatment plan. Like they wouldn't have been doing like a week's worth of tests in the hospital.
We need to keep this kid in a bed doing hard drugs. This is how we'll fix it. No,
but like even Scrubs, like every Hollywood show and it works like that. It's just like you're in the hospital until
it works because to me I'm like, yeah, that kid is in real trouble. We need to help him. That's not how it works. I agree. Right. But let's talk about Freddy. What did you make of this version of Freddy?
I love this version. I think this because like we had talked about before, where when it like at Freddy's origins, he's like a boogeyman type of character,
right?
And like this, like to me, like one of the most the how they portrayed him is like an ultimate boogeyman. Yeah. Like the trench coat, the hat, like how he's more kind of like bigger and more burly. Like the contacts, he's just much more intimidating of a character, I think.
You know what? I actually thought a little differently about this. This could be part of this like way too intricate narrative I'm building in my head of this movie. But again, he feels like a cosplayer pumping up Freddy. You know what I mean?
I mean, that is what's happening. You said it's a demon
but that's what I mean. It's a demon playing as Freddy.
Yeah.
And there's something weird because there are a couple scenes that are really good horror imagery, right?
Yeah.
Like when he popped out of the closet, that was one of those like, oh, fuck.
Like, yeah, you had talked...
and it's subtle and it's slow.
Well, like your podcast, you talked about they overuse like the jump scare and like you hate jump scares. This is one of the few times I loved the jump scare.
Well, because they didn't do it 500 times.
Right. No, but it was like a really good jump scare. It was only used once and it was so well done.
And
like you did not expect that to happen.
No, you're thinking like maybe it'll be like a goofy Freddy, whatever. When his fucking face comes out, and he's kind of, this is the thing, he looks a little Wishmaster.
Yeah.
A little like, Jeepers Creepers. Yeah,
very Jeepers Creepers now that
there's
you say
this part
I almost wonder if they like use that in Jeepers Creepers now that I'm like thinking about like, if they just went to like that studio, like, can we use that?
Add a white ponytail.
Yeah.
But there was something about that Freddy where you see, I liked it because he didn't feel scary or menacing to me in that it felt like a stage Freddy, right? Like this is for his version of like a Hollywood Freddy, to trap Nancy in his twisted little love story. But what I like...
And Wes Craven's twisted little love story.
Shut up. That's so wrong. No, Wes is not involved at all. Vote. Yeah, tell me. I win this one for sure. I've at least laid out like 500 pieces of evidence.
So how do you do that? Is like thumbs up, thumbs down means each...
I'm doing the Casey Anthony thing where I'm just going to muddy the water until I win. But what I like, though, is that...
I should not laugh at that. That is...
Hey, man, you should laugh at everything. Right, I'm one of those people, like, oh, it's so sad. I was like, well, we can't just cry for our whole lives. Like, levity. Levity's fine.
I don't know if I'm going to be this professional suicide and like make Casey Anthony funny. Like, no.
Don't hold me to that. Let me think on it before I go down with the ship. No, but what I like is that in the still moment like that, right, or him coming out of the bed, those are the moments where the demon is creeping through Freddy, right? So past the burnt face facade and the sweater, there's just this real fucking dread that's emanating from him, which is lacking in most of the series. And I think that's kind of it's a really clever technique to just keep him in, because this is the thing, he's, the Dream Master, and we've seen these wild worlds, and, you're a comic book kid, we'll do black and white world, and we'll do Roach world, whatever. This is just
him in the world,
completely muted black, and then his face is kind of like blue lit. Mm-hmm. So it is just this, just fucking, there's nothing there. It's just like you said, it's kind of a real nightmare, like just kind of empty and hollow, and there's just this fucking terrifying thing in this vacuous space. And I think that's the part of Freddy I thought was cool, right? Is that when Freddy is still and quiet, the real dread pours out of him in a way that's not this, like it's a game for him.
Right.
You see the demon, which is really fucking cool in this one.
I mean, heck, how far into the movie until you actually see him? It's got to have been like
until
an hour.
It's the funeral when he drags the kid into
that. But yeah, like the
but
closet
even that's
scene,
like 30 minutes in.
And then like the closet scene, like that's where the first time you really see like full body Freddy, and that's like 45 minutes to an hour in the movie.
No, I mean they are pretty
really
sparing.
Built it up.
Yeah,
like, they really built up the getting to Freddy in this, which I love, because I think one of the biggest problems in all the movies that Wes hates is pacing.
Right.
and this had great pacing.
He doesn't like the goofiness, right? Like, and that's what I mean. This one, when he slows it down and you see the demon, you see real terror. This one also has one of like the actual saddest, most human moments in the whole series. I was like, there was a scene they added where I was like, fuck, that's like real drama filmmaking.
Which one are you talking about?
And it was the kid on the playground.
Oh, where he wants to like go to God.
Yeah, and he's just like, God wouldn't take me. Yeah. Like I was actually on my couch, I got a little choked up. I had like one.
Yeah, you think about it a little differently now,
but
as a parent, like things like now, like
well, just the fact of like, fuck, like God wouldn't take me.
Yeah.
Like imagine the weight on this kid's shoulder. He's like, I'm being haunted by this fucking demon who wants to have a love affair with my mom, and then he's, my dad died. God, like now I have to just ponder what God is. He's like, I'm 4. Then I go to a hospital and they're just giving me narcotics. Right?
Yeah. That kid has had a traumatic experience in the real world and in
this is a hard fucking run for him.
Yeah. And like speaking of that, when I watched that, I had forgotten about those playsets, that rocket that he's standing on. Did you ever play in those as a kid?
I played in something like that, but I don't remember the door to the pinnacle.
Those things were fucking dangerous.
Why is that door
No,
open?
you should have seen the inside of that thing. Because what it is, if you actually go inside, I mean, it's a solid metal structure that's probably like 20 feet tall, with ladders that go up to like 3 different tiers of ladders that go up to another metal floor.
Right.
When you get up, you get off that ladder. It's just an open hole on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, there's no guardrails or anything. I've fallen through that hole when I was a kid. Like,
you, of course, would be the kid that did that.
But I'm sure I'm not the only kid. Like,
no, but that's the thing. We were badasses back then.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I was saying this the other. I was on a playground with my kids, and I was like dodging other giant dads on like the swing set, and I was like, you remember when we were kids? Like, I never saw someone's dad on the swing set.
Yeah, you just let him go. Yeah.
Like they were just like, bye.
Yeah,
like it was just all us kids.
To the wood and metal structures that had like a million murderous rockets.
But dude, that moment actually like rocked me to the core. Yeah. That was cool, man.
Oh, there were multiple scenes now like that. Like I think you said, like being a parent, you see things differently. Like when he's like
even when she's reading Hansel and Gretel, I was like, man, that is fucking hardcore. Like Jesus Christ, we shouldn't be reading this.
It was kind of a cool little point that they made. Like where like it's at the same time trying to make this point of we probably should not have been letting our kids watch these horror movies, and at the same time going back to Grimm's fairy tales, like okay, throughout time we have been telling kids.
Though, kids started really working stories
when
they were like 6.
That's true. So
like you're going to be away from home.
Farther.
Don't fucking talk to hooded strangers or go off when like the woods.
Just scare them as much as possible.
Dude, imagine like a medieval serial killer must have just been like in shit hog heaven. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, there's another fucking kid carrying sticks. Come on over.
You don't hear much. There's not a lot of documentation of serial killers
because
from
they're
the Dark Ages.
Definitely
they're not really writing. People weren't writing.
Well, people didn't live as long. Yeah. People were dying all the time anyway.
And
there were definitely serial killers, right? I think it's a genetic personality disorder.
Like the oldest one I can think of is Jack the Ripper, and that's going back to the 1800s.
Imagine Rome. There were just dead bodies everywhere. Yeah. Like people, there were so many people coming, going, and they were like, "Oh, this guy, they got in like a robbery."
Maybe there weren't actually. Maybe there weren't just because there was so much like graphic battle back then constantly. Like there weren't serial killers. They're just going out and fighting in the fields.
But that's not the same thing for them.
No,
you know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the mind of a serial killer. I
do. No, I actually.
So for you, that would not have been enough.
I failed. I did the serial killer test my wife found, and I failed it.
You failed it as in you are or are not a serial killer?
I do think, here, I'll run it by you quick. We don't have a ton of time. All right, so these two girls are at their mom's funeral, right? They're taking care of everything. They're trying to be nice to everyone, It's an okay funeral. Everyone's somber, whatever. The daughter goes in the kitchen to refresh some food, and she meets this guy. She really likes him. He's bringing a bright light to her day. Everything's cool. They go back out. They go about the funeral. Everyone leaves. They start cleaning up. Later that night, the girl murders her sister. Why did she murder her sister?
I would say if you don't know, then you probably passed the test.
I came up with this in less than 5 seconds. What would be your first gut reaction to why she killed her sister?
That she thought her sister killed her father?
No. And I said, because by killing her sister, there will be another funeral and she can meet that guy again. I came up with that, I was like, duh, obviously. And my wife was just like,
Is that written in the answer key? If they say this, then you're a serial killer?
That's the serial killer mindset, right?
So it actually tells you, if you answer like that.
Test she had, and she's like, what it says that you do not value human life, and that human life is a tool for you, and you're just out for your own game. I was like, I didn't fucking kill my sister. I watch a lot of horror movies. I'm a screenwriter. I just thought of that. It makes sense.
But that's why, according to Stephen King, horror movies exist for people like you to keep your gators under the bridge. Because if they don't exist,
if I didn't have horror movies, God only knows what I would be up to. All right, here's a question for you: does Rex actually have abilities to fight Freddy in this movie?
I would say yes. Otherwise, there's no reason that Freddy would have shredded it to pieces
multiple times.
Right?
He has to keep fighting.
Yeah. So that would have been a cool thing to have seen. To have actually seen Rex take on Freddy.
That was a miss to me. I was like, I really wanted that scene.
Yeah.
I really
that would have been a great way to go out. Actually, better than I get okay, you tie it into the Hansel and Gretel thing and the boiler room with Freddy, in his origin story and kill him that way. I would have much rather have seen Rex come back, and kill Freddy. Yeah, that would they set it up so much for that, and they didn't do it. You're right. That's a huge miss.
Any moment, right? Yeah. Even if Rex was just there, like Annabelle.
Right?
Give me. I was like, dude, is this motherfucker doing combat with Freddy? What is it? Is he the same size? Does he grow enormous to the size of a dinosaur? What's happening?
Or is Freddy in Freddy 2? He's actually possessing Rex, and then we see him shredded. He comes out of the doll, where he's Rex is an Annabelle,
could be
medium.
What is your favorite moment from this movie?
Honestly, the closet scene.
The closet scene to me, I love the swinging room kill in the hospital.
Yeah,
I love when they do those kills.
Play skin the cat. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that's one thing actually I really liked about this movie is it kind of subtly nodded to the original multiple times. Yeah. That one was a nod to the first kill in the first movie. And then,
the one that he's obsessed with, where he gets to come into the real world and wrestle around with Nancy. Evidence.
More evidence. Right, exactly. When he comes back, he wrestles around with Nancy.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, I really thought the earthquake, the earthquake scene where his claws come through the wall.
Yeah,
that was a really cool idea and imagery. There's a lot in this movie that I really
thought
really
the ending was a little lackluster.
Yeah. That's one thing that got me though. Is the ending, his death scene is so terribly shot and so cheap.
See, not even that. I don't think it's that. Again, I think it's this demon who's kind of a poor imitation for this storyteller, right? I think it again is all this placation to Nancy and her rolling out of the bed and having the happy ending and continuing to read the story. He's now injected herself in her life again, right?
Where she constantly has that script.
I thought that was a cool ending to read the script, right?
And then she starts reading it to her kid, the whole movie where she's children should not watch this. The doctors are children should not watch this.
Right.
It's a whole commentary on it's weird that we are.
And now
she's reading the story to her kid.
She is allowing him to acknowledge and give power to this demon, thus keeping him fresh in their minds.
That's actually a good.
That's kind of cool, right?
That's a cool thought.
Yeah, I thought that was rad,
that could
man.
be his the comeback thing.
Yeah.
Where he's in that manuscript.
Yeah.
The fact that she's reading it to him, but
yeah.
But then again, he also lived through it already, so I guess.
And again, he'll know that he'll be back. He always is back, man. That's
I'm surprised
the cool
they
thing.
haven't. They haven't really done.
They rebooted, which we're gonna get to. They rebooted,
which was a bad decision.
And this one is so meta, it's kind of outside of the series. So it's hard to build off of this one.
Yeah.
And be like, we're doing a sequel again, which now is going to try to kill. Like, you lose a lot of that, Robert Englund's interaction with it. And,
he's a hard one to replace.
Yeah. And it was fun to see him just being Robert. It was fun to see him in his house where he's like, I can't do anything today. Mm-hmm. And him just being forced to paint the Freddy picture. Freddy has become his own personal demon, right? Where does Robert get to exist? Do they want Robert, or do they only want Robert as Freddy?
Which is another cool thing they did is they didn't really show Freddy until Robert Englund disappears.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, that's a cool thing. I'm trying to still piece it together in my mind what you're trying to do with it. But I thought it was a cool storytelling.
But, I think aspect. To me that's him in the real life,
right?
Right? Is that Robert did kind of disappear?
Right? Did the demon possess Robert? And
everywhere
then
he went,
character?
Right? People were like, "Come here, be on this commercial, but as Freddy, be this, be."
Right.
That's a lot of hours that guy spent in makeup chairs.
Yeah, right.
To look like Freddy, and that has to fucking bother him on some level because he's a really talented
he gets paid
actor.
A lot for it, probably.
Right, but he's also probably like, "Hey, man, I'd like to be in other movies. Can I be in a Marvel movie?"
Right, he definitely got pigeonholed.
Yeah, and they say that's the best thing that can happen to some action man. If you get pigeonholed in the right thing, you have a career for life. Robert Englund's beloved. To sum up, give me a quick, brief summary if you had to pitch someone to this. It's not a full Nightmare movie, but what makes this one special and why they should watch this movie?
I'd say it's an incredibly unique take on the whole Nightmare series. It's Wes Craven's response to Freddy's Dead, since he hated it so much for something that he loved so much that he decided to go back and take the project on full on to actually have a good ending and do it justice.
Yeah. I like that we got back to a scarier Freddy. I like the quiet, still Freddy.
Yep.
Right? Instead of the big bombastic circus master Freddy.
Yeah, he whispers almost everything except for
this is the opposite of Freddy's Dead. Instead of "Rawr!"
Yeah.
He's actually. That's what I mean.
Am I your daddy?
Yeah, I like the slow dread that pours out of Freddy. I like the idea of Wes Craven wrestling with his own creation, right, and realizing that this is. I think what Wes did too that was brilliant is when you create something, you give it out to the world. It's theirs now, right? This was, I think it was Upton Sinclair who wrote The Jungle, right? I think my sister-in-law is an English major, and she always told me the story. He went to a college to talk about his book, and he was like, well, this is what it's about. And these college kids were like, no, it's not. It's about this and this and this and this. He's like, no, fuck you. It's this. I wrote it. And it's like,
doesn't matter.
It's not. As soon as an audience member ingest it, we become part of the creative process. And what he captured in this story is you create something and give it back, and then it's given back to you by the people that consume it, right? Like, it's as much theirs as yours in a weird way. Yeah. And who has control, and these things take on a life of their own. And again, I think Freddy's really good. The nightmare scares, the nightmares are not used to great effect, but it is scary. It's a more personal,
it goes back to
scare.
The original Nightmare, because the original Nightmare, there weren't the Nightmare fun houses.
No.
They always took place in real places with maybe a little bit of fog and maybe a weird thing like a lamb.
That's what I mean, right? I like this is kind of a family, and it almost turns Freddy and the nightmares like when your daily life becomes a waking nightmare, right? Like grief and tragedy, and how do you deal with these things? A stalker, right? Like crazy fans. I got a kid, but I got to work, the babysitter, and what if your kid's sick? Like, there are little waking nightmares throughout. So I think Wes really just, he hits so many of the interesting, scary ideas, and Freddy almost just exists as a background character in the movie, which is interesting, right? Because you feel like he needed to be more present, but I think the movie works a lot with even how little we got.
Yep.
And Freddy definitely is just placating Nancy. That's an obvious one that you guys totally agree with me on.
Wes is the story god.
And I've outed myself as a serial killer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not really surprising.
No.
Nobody's shocked by that.
I think the thing is, too, is my lucky thing is I'm just so lazy I could never oh my god, could you imagine, instead of watching HBO, be like, I'm gonna slough around town and find someone, wrestle him into a trunk, murder him, dispose of him.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Lie to my family. You're like, god damn, that is a lot of work. I'm out.
One of the things that made me realize
I'll just watch Freddy movies.
Dexter is truly insane is when first time I painted my house and I had to lay out all that plastic to prevent it, and you still got paint on the carpet in places you didn't want. And he did that on a routine basis. I'm like, that dude is fucking insane. Yes. Yeah. He routinely laid out all that plastic perfectly. That's a lot of work. Being a serial killer
definitely has nutted on plastic before. He's like, oh, it's so perfect and clean. Yeah, no, he's a creep. But that's what I mean. I think this was a fitting and fun place to end. I think I always come back to, I'm just sad it ended, right? Yep. Like, I still can't fathom. I know the reboot wasn't wildly successful. It was a little too horrific for a lot of audience members.
A little too gut-wrenching.
And that's fine. But I still feel like there's so much life in Freddy. And like Robert Englund waving to that crowd, he still exists for all of us in such a real way.
Yep.
I'm hoping for some kind of big madhouse horror revivification. Right?
That reminded me. Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you. So in that scene where she's talking to Wes Craven and like she shows her the computer in the background, you see a bunch of Stephen King books on the shelf. Almost, it seems like a little bit of like Wes Craven kind of giving a nod to Stephen King, like you were a strong influence on me on my writing. And then in It Part 2. Nightmare on Elm Street is in the background. I wonder if that was like almost like a reciprocal nod back to Wes Craven. Like this character kind of had some influence from Freddy Krueger.
I mean, they're two of the all-time icons of horror. Their paths have probably crossed. But that's the other thing too, is he had to have directed a Stephen King movie. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I don't know. Did any Stephen King movie ever outside of It have a major director?
Yeah, some of it. I can't think of it. Now I'm like drawing a blank. I feel like there's one that I'm missing. But
and then also there's the kid from Pet Sematary is in this movie.
Yeah.
And so kind of another nod.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing too, is that Pennywise plays a lot like Freddy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I was like,
and
Pennywise is like if Freddy could cross into the real world and have all his powers, that's Pennywise.
It's fun, but that's what I mean, is that these guys are just masters of like, we're going to the darkest, weirdest places. Mm-hmm. And they all, like Freddy, the way Wes views Freddy is that it kind of reflects what you want. Right? So the storyteller, the clown, or the spider fucking thing, whatever it is like, I want to do this scare tonight. And it's like, nope, sorry, you saw the fat kid who likes mummies. So he's like, God damn it, a mummy. All right, but yeah.
That's true, yeah. He's like very much bad.
I love nods back and forth between these guys. And they're just two of the greatest that ever did it. So that's it for Freddy until we remake him and make him fight Jason. So stay with us, guys. The Friday the 3rd, or Nightmare on Elm Street remake tomorrow. Then we're doing all the Fridays. Halloween Day, we culminate in Freddy versus Jason.
And vote. Who's right?
I'm right. I'm right. You guys know I'm right. The demon is there for Nancy.
The people will speak.
His favorite form is only Freddy, and it allows him to play with his Juliet, Nancy.
We've said our points. We'll let the people decide.
I won. That's right.
All right.
You guys can tell me I won in a rating.
That's the sociopath in you. That's already
in a rating and review. Tell us that I won. Share us on your socials. Again, tell me that I won. And as always, guys, thanks for all the
subliminal there, my friend.
Do it. No, guys, that's it for us, man. Thank you for staying with us. Thanks. We got a lot to get through this month, but we're gonna get there.
It's been a lot of fun.
For the Film Alchemist, I'm Josh Griffey.
Mike Cloud.
See ya.